I have relocated to our beautiful little county park where the National Cow Calling Contest is held on the first Saturday of every June in Miami, Texas. Yes, you heard me right. Miami. M-I-A-M-I. Around here, folks like to pronounce the name Miami. Miami, your Amma, everybody's Amma. Come one, come all. Join us for cow calling. What I'm going to demonstrate here is how to get some garlic started. Now, normally you would not plant garlic in the ground in this location this time of year. The ground is already way too chilly to get the plants thriving, and then too, before you put them in the ground, it's a really good idea, or in a pot, it's a good idea to get their roots started. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I've got a special way I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be using two different types of garlic. One is onion garlic, and the other is just regular garlic. I've found these specimens at our local grocery store. And there's the elephant garlic. Oop, we don't want to let anything go to waste. We'll put that right there in our little compost bin. Trash we will dispose of properly. Right now, it's in my back pocket. And then here is the regular garlic. Now, you don't want to put the whole thing in there at once, and that's not my objective anyway today. Sorry, I've got a runny nose and a little bit of sniffles. The weather is changing, and it's starting to do a number on me. We'll see if we can get through this. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take some of this skin off so that we can separate these cloves. Now, the purpose of what I'm doing today is, of course, to teach you how to root these cloves so that the clove has a good healthy start before you put it in soil. Just separate out a clove as such and try to get all the dried skin off of it. However, you want to leave it in the hard shell. If you're used to using fresh garlic in cooking, you realize that there is a hard shell around each clove. We will let that stay on. Now, as you look at the whole grouping of cloves, there is, let me get a little bit closer to the camera. There are two sides or two ends to it. This is where the leaves come out. This, of course, is where the roots are. Now, on the clove, you'll be able to tell the same thing. Once I put it back on here, that's not a nice fit, just in case you forget. And that is a good fit right there. Whoop, there's a good fit right there. So you want to put this into the water that we're going to put in a little jar over here, okay? Now, since I'm only going to use one clove of regular garlic, and I'm going to use one clove of the elephant garlic. Purpose is that when you grow indoors, you essentially have an opportunity to grow all year round, given the correct lighting conditions. But lighting is a key. Plants respond to the seasonal lighting. And since it is so late for planting garlic in this area, I'm going to do a little bit of experiment by planting only one clove per week. And then we're going to check progress on these cloves as time goes along and see whether or not planting out of season and keeping these plants indoors will bring us a good crop or not. So we're going to be revisiting this week after week, and I'll show you the progress. I may not do it every week. Once I do a couple of weeks, I think you'll get the gist of what's going on. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these cloves a little bit, and you notice that I have a little rock in here. Now, normally, if I'm going to be planting a whole lot of cloves, I am going to use those cloves to help them to get to stand upright. I want them to stay upright so that the clove is in its natural orientation. So I brought along a few rocks not only to hold these cups down from the little bit of breeze that we have today, but also to help stabilize the cloves so that they can stand upright. All right, let's get that one adjusted so that it's root side down. Well, Lordy, I think I'm going to have to wipe my nose again. Now, when I picked up these rocks, I made sure that I've got some nice smooth rocks, and they're fairly clean. All right, so now we've got them setting up inside the little jar there so that the root sides are down and the leaf side is up. And they should be stable that way. We'll find out in a moment when we add water. Now, the water you use, preferably, you would want to use some rainwater. Well, I have not captured any rainwater. The next best thing is to use some distilled water, which I actually took out of this bottle earlier and put in here because we're going to do something else with that bottle. And we'll pour just enough of this distilled water so that the bottom or the root side of the cloves are covered in water, but they're not completely covered. It's not a good idea to cover them up completely, in my personal experience. Now, why would you not just use the water out of your faucet? Well, perhaps if you live out in the country, that might be okay, but you get the benefit of rainwater because it has a more acidic pH to it, which seems to stimulate the roots to grow a little bit quicker. And like I say, we'll come back in about a week or so, and we should already see some root growth on these two cloves. And I can tell the difference between the elephant garlic and the regular type of garlic because one clove is bigger than the other. I got lucky on that one, forgot to think about it. All right, so now I want to show you something that you can do with some of your old milk containers instead of just dumping them in the rubbish and watching them go to the landfill right away. You can get a heck of a lot of use out of these things. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to poke a hole in the side with a sharp instrument, a knife. It's not a good idea to cut completely around this bottle with a knife, especially for folks who aren't experienced in handling knives. So I'm going to take these scissors and I'm going to cut right around the bottom of this. Doesn't have to be real neat. All right, and then what I have left is a perfect little pot. Don't have to pay anything for it, and it will work just fine in order to get some plants started. And it is kind of shallow, and actually it's a pretty good way to grow shallow plants, maybe for a year, two, something like that. We'll poke a hole in the bottom of that when we get ready to use it. What you're left with is, if it didn't have a big hole in the side there, is a handy funnel. If you need a funnel, you don't need to go to the Wally World and get one or the auto parts supply store. You've already got a funnel that you can use. But what I'm going to use this for, especially since I can't use it as a funnel, is I am going to make a few cuts here where it's relatively flat. All right. I could have gotten a little bit more out of that. That's fine. maybe I can squeeze one more usable piece out of here. Oop, it's a little bit windy and we're losing some of our product here. I'll go ahead and stick that right in there temporarily. Cut that off. And I think I can get another little strip out of this. Like that. And if you really were to use as much of this as you possibly could, you could even get some more strips out of here. But let's cut this a little bit short. And this makes a great way to be able to identify various types of seeds that you have planted and the dates. And one of the tools that you will want to keep handy with you, as you will find from time to time, I use it quite a bit, is a Sharpie. Now, I can write today's date on here, which would be 1/2/2017. And for right now, I'll just stick it in there. And I know exactly on what day these are planted. Now it's going to be interesting, I think, to see how these plants do as we go from week to week. These cloves should have roots grown on them in about a week or so. The beauty of pot gardening is that you have available to you a climate-controlled area. Instead of planting these things in the cold, cold ground where they're likely to never survive, especially with no roots, you can get them started inside your house where it's a little bit warmer. The water is going to be warm, and put them in an area where they can receive a little bit of sunlight. They're going to react to that. I think it's going to be really surprising on what we will see about a week from now. So be sure to subscribe to this channel so you will get notifications when I put new videos up. All right? Thank you very much for joining me today.